Welcome back to EconLine, everyone. In this lesson, we're going to take a more advanced look at total surplus, producer-consumer surplus type stuff, and then also how it's connected to different markets. And I'm going to introduce a concept here that's usually reserved for a little later in the course called deadweight loss. And we're going to look at what that is, and we'll see the introduction to how deadweight loss plays into markets. And then we're going to revisit this topic in much more depth later on when we look at theory of the firm. All right, so taking a look at the graph in front of you, it's a more complicated looking version than what we've seen so far. So we have, first of all, our initial just supply and demand curve with our equilibrium price and quantity. We've talked about total surplus and this concept of being the value to the buyers minus the cost to the sellers. All this graph is showing us is that up until we reach the equilibrium price and quantity, so at all of these quantities here, from 0 to equilibrium, the value to the buyers is greater than the cost to the sellers. So it definitely makes sense to produce those items. What we haven't discussed yet is what happens beyond, right? What if we kept producing past the equilibrium quantity? If we continue producing past the equilibrium quantity, then the result is that the cost of these items, because they've gotten prohibitively expensive, is now greater than the value. In other words, let's think about this. The items that are consumed or the items that are used to produce an item are more valuable than the item itself. Does that make sense? Would you spend $400 to produce an item that was only worth, $150? No, that doesn't make sense. So at any point beyond equilibrium, so this is kind of like our line of no return, at any point on that side, basically the cost exceeds the value, and that doesn't make sense. That's an irrational decision as far as an economist is concerned.